Measuring what's right. Welcome to this 7-minute audio on sales measurement and how to focus on what is right to measure. Analytics in sales has been present since the very start of time. In its simplest form, measuring performance against goal, i.e. revenue, has been measured since someone first started to sell. But as analytical tools become more pervasive, it's becoming more vital to reflect on what we measure and understand why we are measuring it. Let's look at the challenges presented today and consider, are there alternative things to measure or even things that we should stop measuring? These thoughts have been gathered from some of the Institute's fellows during recent roundtables on the subject. Many sales leaders feel that today there are too many measures and dashboards. Furthermore, whilst forecasting revenue is important, for many organisations, in order to plan things like manufacturing, resources or logistics, we may have reached a point of saturation. Many of the tools and measures look backwards. What happened, they asked. There is little, if any, focus on future activities and their quality. What could happen, they could ask. In the main, measurement is for senior leaders within organisations who have requirements and objectives to gather, in the main, information. Assessing things like pipeline coverage, close dates, pipeline progression. All of this answers their need for corporate information, yet very few tools focus on helping the actual sales individual. They rarely look at quality, many of our fellows concluded, but quantitative measures instead. Our fellows discussed this at length, that more quality in the sales process resulted often in better results than actually fixating on quantities. The attributes and motivations of a seller were seldom measured, and there are very few genuine measures to understand how customers feel about the sales cycle. Certainly not things like Net Promoter Score, we concluded. And lastly, it was considered that there is almost always going to be bias in the measures and the process that is used if they are driven by internal imperatives. The Institute, through its partnership with Riddlebox, present an overview on this slide of the metrics in the sales environment. There are conscious behaviours and actions that we all partake in that can be measured quite easily. There are subconscious behaviours and actions, things that if we thought about it, we know that we do. And lastly, there are preconscious, or in lay terms, ingrained thoughts that are just there in mind and environment that are not easily uncovered, but we do naturally without thinking about it. These are nonetheless very important. Conscious can be measured with traditional KPI tools and to measure classic performance. There are tools such as Gallup that can survey engagement and actually understand the subconscious. But there is little that actually can be used to understand feeling, well-being and emotions such as happiness, feelings and as trust and empathy. The Institute has been building these and we will share these with you over the coming days and weeks. If we measure more holistically, we can uncover the sweet spot that every business seeks to connect its employees and customers through: values. When the strategy of an organisation positively impacts a salesperson, this can be evidenced and measured through employee experience. The Institute have this tool too, and organisations through our employee relationship quality tool and metric can actually understand how their employees in their sales teams are feeling and doing. Going further, we can measure psychological safety, which is vital as modern research suggests that if there, it empowers high learning and high capability and places people in the upper right hand quadrant of performance. Customer experience can be measured in many ways. We've touched upon Net Promoter Score, but true emotions and psychological safety in customers is exceptionally important to understand, and that has not been able to be measured until now, although again the Institute through its customer relationship quality metric has now been able to beta test this with several major organisations. What holds all this together is values, where strategy, employee and customer experience intersect. Surely that's worthy of being measured. How do you measure, and more importantly, what can have a foundational impact on your sustainable performance is really important. This slide, whilst a bit of an eye chart, starts to look at all the ways that you go from labour productivity through productivity and collaboration to team performance and outstanding leadership. Quite simply, employee vitality in being improved and measured will actually directly correlate with business performance. If overlaid with clear standards and behaviours and expectations, you will move towards sustainable performance. This may feel very touchy-feely, but I guarantee research has uncovered today that this is actually what top performing organisations start to look at and measure and actually see in outcomes. Take a minute to pause and reflect on this slide, although we will come back to it in future engagements. Lastly, how do we unpack all this? Well, to put it simply, it's about measuring how two important parts of the sales and buying process feel. How do we measure how the salesperson feels? What are their behaviours and how do they correlate to performance? What are they saying they're doing and how are we measuring what they're actually doing at each point of the guiding of the customer through the buying process? And on the other side of the journey, how are we making customers feel? How do our salespeople make them feel? And what is their perception of the buying journey as we attempt to guide them through it? I've thoroughly enjoyed this 7-minute presentation and hope it acts as a springboard to explore these areas further with not only our existing fellows, but our future fellows and people like you. Thank you.